It is an honor to be here today to talk to you guys about one of my favorite subjects, IoT, and in particular, Aviation Iot. For those of you who may or may not know Gogo, it's probably helpful for me just to spend a couple of minutes to tell you about who Gogo is. Gogo is an interesting company. We are what I like to call a juxtaposition of three companies. We are an Apple, a Netflix, and a Verizon, all rolled into one. On the Apple side, we innovate, design, and manufacture hardware for the communication systems on planes. On the Netflix side, we actually operate and provide the nation's largest in-flight entertainment experiences. And on the Verizon side, we do something actually very distinctive and unique. We own and operate several networks, an air-to-ground network, and also a KU or a satellite-based network. So as we think about where Gogo was 25 years ago, a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Ray was sitting in a barbecue joint in Texas. And as he was looking out the window, he thought about all the cars going by and people talking on their phones, and he said, what if? What if I could take those cell phone towers and I could flip them on their heads and I could point them upwards? And for that, I could get connectivity to aircraft. Now, a little bit more daunting when you think about aircraft being 5 miles above the Earth and traveling at 500 miles an hour, but the practicality didn't stop him from thinking about what the probable was and the possible was. He thought about what if. If you think about a couple years ago, Gogo continues to innovate, and we've added satellite-based networks to our system, where we operate those networks on the KU band, and they have proprietary technology, 2KU antennas, that allow connectivity to the aircraft. What that allows you to do is get the aircraft to the data to the aircraft at speeds of about 100 megabits per second. Pretty phenomenal. So what I love about Gogo is you can walk through the hallways of Gogo, and as you walk through, you will see references to science fiction everywhere. And what I love about that is the fact that it's science fiction where we see people dream. They dream about the what-ifs in science fiction. So anything from Star Trek to Star Wars to the Minority Report, science fiction helps fuel our imagination and think about what is not only practical, but what is probable out there. From R2-D2, you can think about R2-D2 or in Star Wars. I would say that that's the first voice command module, definitely a precursor to Suri. You can think about our beloved Spock, and I would also argue there that he probably was the developer of the mobile phone. And a little bit creepy, I have to wonder if not some point in our future, and probably not too distant future, things like the Minority Report and using behavioral-based data analytics to predict patterns of how people will act will come true in our lives. All of those things in science fiction are possible because people would sit there and dream. They would dream about what if. So if we move from those experiences to IoT, the standard IoT value chain is on the screens. You guys have seen this several times before. And I know from sitting in the audience here for the last several years, there's always a point in time during these conferences where someone will talk about the industrial internet and all the value that's there, and that is absolutely true. But you and I as developers, one of the challenges comes through. If you think about how you actually have to get those applications into manufacturing, you have one small problem, right? Those machines aren't sentient yet. You have to get sensors on those. And from that sensor, then you have to figure out how you get those in a smart gateway, and then you have to get them into the network, finally the cloud, and then you can actually do your applications and your data analytics around it. But here's what I'm going to ask you today. I want you to dream with me for just a little bit today and think about what if. What if I told you there was an industry out there where the machines were already sentient? They had sensors in them. There was gateways, smart gateways already in place. There were networks already connecting them. And what they were waiting for was smart people like you all, developers, to actually develop applications to take advantage of the what if. That is Aviation Iot. So if you think about Aviation Iot, I'm going to have you guys turn your eyes to the skies for just a moment. Did you know that today, in a single day, there are over 40,000 flights that will originate and terminate in the United States? Each one of those flights puts off, let's call it on average, a half to a quarter to half of terabyte of data. So if you just do some averaging, taking into account different plane size, mission durations, you end up creating data on the aircraft in just the United States in the volume of 15 petabytes of data. Now, I'm not that smart. So when I heard 15 petabytes of data, I needed to put that in context. And when you do, a petabyte of data is a whole lot of data. It's equal to 13.3 years of HDTV. You can look at it, it's 20 petabytes data is equal to the amount processed by Google on a daily basis. And of course, my favorite, 50 petabytes of data, are the entire written works of mankind since the beginning of time in all languages. Aircraft of the United States do double that in 1 week. It's a whole lot of data. That is what I look at and I say, what if? It is a big playground for us. So if you look forward, where is all that data coming from? There is a mass propagation of sensors in aviation. One wing of a new Airbus A380 has over 10,000 sensors in it. A Pratt & Whitney engine, 5,000 sensors. They're even looking today at putting things and sensors in things such as mundane as seats. And who knows what else will be there. But all that data creates opportunities for us. And what it's doing is impacting all aspects of aviation. It's impacting everything from maintenance to flight operations, in-flight services, and aircraft systems. And you guys are already starting to see how that's impacting aviation today. Anything from electronic flight bags to how you're processing payments in the air to predictive maintenance. IoT is already here in aviation, and it's already changing all of those customer experiences and improving productivity. So where are we with aviation? We actually are entering a new era. We're at the cusp of something great. We are today in the connected aircraft, and what we're looking for in the future is the connected aviation. And I like to liken where connected aviation is to 2007. In 2007, a gentleman by the name of Steve, dressed all in black, on a stage similar to this, introduced a little thing called the iPhone. And it was that iPhone that changed how we start to communicate and interact from here going forward. But what I didn't know until I started looking into it is it wasn't until 2009 that the App Store was created. Because with that, all that data coming in off the cell phones, people needed an app in order to use that. Now, I don't know about you, but I really wish in 2007 I had thought, what if? Because if I had thought about what if, I would have been able to revolutionize the taxi industry. I could have changed dramatically how payment processing is happening today. And that is exactly where we are with regards to connected aircraft and connected aviation. We are in 2007, and what I don't want to be doing is sitting the equivalent of 10 years from now in 2017 saying, gosh, I wish I had thought about that. Because that's exactly where we are with regards to connected aviation. So the challenge that we have is companies have to reinvent themselves in order to survive. And in aviation, that is no different from that. The aviation companies are completely reinventing themselves now. They are looking at how they can take advantage of the disruption and maybe disrupt the model themselves. And they're looking to companies to take those clues, because we all know that in true Andy Grove fashion, if you're not paranoid, you don't survive. And I know a speaker just prior to me talked about this, and it is very, very true. You can take examples from history, right? Speaker incumbents. Think about all the speakers that were out there and names that you know and love. Sony, Jawbone, Sonos. All these are Tony and marquee names. But they didn't innovate. They didn't look at the world of IoT, and look what happened. Amazon takes a 26% share of the speaker market, a 1,200% change in a year over year. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure the people at Harvard Business School are already quickly writing up their little cases saying, what happened? What happened to these marquee companies? What didn't they see that allowed someone like Amazon to come in and completely take over a home speaker market? So as we go forward, what we want to do at Gogo is imagine what if. And so I'm going to ask you guys to think about those 15 petabytes of data on a daily basis in just the US, and think about what if. What if you could use that information and you could actually help improve passengers' safety and comfort while you're in flight? What if you could use data to help solve some of the world's problems? They say by 2050 there's going to be 9 billion people in the United States, in the world. Not in the United States, I hope not. So in the world. So given that, there is going to be, they predict a scarcity of water. So what if you could use sensors to help improve your efficiency of commercial agriculture? Or even better yet, if you could use that same information to improve your residential smart sprinkler systems? What if you could put sensors into seats and a seat could tell you that it needed to be repaired? What if you could solve some of the major problems of airline industries? Did you know that on an annual basis, 44,000 flights are diverted due to medical emergencies? They predict, according to some consultancies, that that value or that cost of those diverted flights is about $300 million. What if you could put sensors into those seats and it could actually predict when someone's going to have a medical emergency? What if, and this is a little more creepy, but what if you could put those sensors into those same seats and you could measure the actual weight of a plane before it takes off to optimize your fuel efficiency? What if I could tell you what was happening on the plane, all the viewing habits, that you could tailor advertisement directly to someone in the seat back, or as they came off the plane in a group in the jetway, the concourse, or in an FBO? What if? The possibilities there are truly endless. So as we think about what if, one of the things that Gogo recognized is that we needed to have a step change in thinking if we were going to take advantage of the value chain that was already in place. And one of the other things we realized is that it's an ecosystem. And what we needed to do in this ecosystem was to figure out how we could change the model and be an enabler. So we also knew the other thing is that we couldn't do by ourselves. So we went out over the past year and we have spoken to several individuals. We had 40 contributors. Some of you may recognize, and Michael Porter on the screen. We spoke to about 38 different companies, and we wanted to consolidate the information and conversation around connected aircraft. It was these companies, many of them that you have either spoken with today or that you know of, that have helped guide our thinking with regards to where we're going on connected aviation. So all of this does require a new way of thinking. And for those of you who may or may not be familiar with the aviation industry, we'll kind of walk you through a little bit of the old school to the new school. In the old school, it was a very high fixed, high cost model. You had an idea, then you had to build hardware around it, you had to build software, you absolutely have to go do FAA testing, and all those things bundle into a lot of high upfront cost before you even sell one thing. In the new world, if you think about using IoT, we had to break that paradigm. We had to enable a way to take an idea and then use some service element to enable developers to write software to get up and running in a much more variable cost, low risk model. So what we did is we came up with 4 services or enablers thanks to the input and guidance of several of those contributors up there. And these are anything from how you get connectivity to the aircraft, to different APIs, to data and application hosting. So the first one is Gogo Connectivity. This is basic connectivity. They say that connectivity services in the airline industry are the fastest growing segment with regards to as we try to get all of the aircraft connected so you have the same experience in the air that you have on the ground. In the old way, without connectivity, the only way you could really update stuff was to get information on the ground. It was very expensive over ACARS. In that, you had to bundle your information and your cellular connections into every single system. In the new world, you have that connectivity. It enables you to actually build connectivity straight into your products and services and allows you to update information real time through that connection. The second one is AID, or Aircraft Interface Devices, over APIs. In the old school, you would literally had to take a piece of physical hardware, the amount of about $20,000, and install that in an aircraft. And even if you did it once, then what you had to do is you had to manage multiple configurations of aircrafts out there, so high complexity. In the new world, it's really simple. AID is an API. It reduces that complexity and makes sure that you don't have to go and reconfigure every single time. The third thing, aircraft is a data service. Now you've got your data. How do you get it off and how do you actually measure it? Well, in the old world, it's hard to believe, but there was no way to get aircraft data off the aircraft. And if you did, it was done by SneakerNet. It would take you a month, if not months, to get the data actually off an airplane and then go analyze it. So if you're thinking about how you can do real-time predictive, pretty hard in that world. In the new world, it just comes down to a couple words: real-time. That real-time information allows you to take advantage of it, and you can decide where you're going to process it. Are you going to process it at the edge? You're going to bring it down real time into the cloud and have immediate information, or you're going to batch it when you land. And the final one is hosting application services. If you wanted to put an app into a plane in the old world, you physically had to build hardware. You had to put it into LRU, a line replacement unit. You had to write software to it. You had to go get it certified, and then you had to go sell it. In the new world, what you can do is you actually work through people who have equipment on the plane, such as Gogo already, and you put your applications that are hosted there and you manage them. So a paradigm shift if you're going to take advantage of everything that we're seeing with regards to IoT and aviation. So if you want to take advantage of the 15 petabytes of data coming off on a daily basis, we had to do something differently in order to open it up and enable people, smart people around the world, to think about how they were going to take advantage of it. So all this has led to a number of things. It has led to, we are working with a number of companies, some of them you may know here on the screen, from Garmin to Honeywell, Rockwell Collins, and even the Weather Company. So the Weather Company, a part of IBM, is an interesting story. Gogo and the Weather Company are working together to think about how we are improving passenger safety and on the plane. So what we do is we are able to crowdsource data coming in off the plane with regards to turbulence. And then we can take that information, we can feed it back to the pilot, so the pilot can adjust routes real time. That way making sure that you don't have a bumpy flight. And I don't know about any of you, but my flight over here yesterday was probably the bumpiest I've had in 10 years of flying. So what that does, it reduces wear and tear on the plane, it helps with fuel efficiency, but more importantly, it makes sure that you have a safe, smooth flight. I like to liken this a little bit to Waze. Call it Waze for planes. Just like if you're using Waze on your phone and it's telling you how to get around that traffic or to avoid that police officer. I know none of you would do that. But if you're doing that, that's exactly what this app does. It's Waze for planes. It crowdsources all the information and then tells you real time how to adjust your altitude. So if you look at that, it truly is an example of IoT in action. It is just the tip of the iceberg and is just one example of what can be done when you can get data off of an aircraft in a real-time fashion. And it's not just helping industries such as WSI, IBM, Gogo, but it's helping the pilots. When you go talk to the pilots who are using these applications, funny quote here, literally one gentleman said, "I felt like a magician." And I don't know about you, but I'd love to feel like a magician. So as we think about where we're going with IoT in aviation, it's all around smart airplanes creating connections. So what we're trying to do is create that connection from the ground to the air and back and forth. So it enables you to have the ability to work, live, and play on a plane just as you're doing on the ground. And if we look at that and we want to come full circle back to our friends in sci-fi, they are the people there that dreamt about what was possible. Not just what was practical, but was possible. They dared to dream about what if. And I would tell you the innovators at Gogo on a daily basis look and they dream about what if. So what we like to do is kind of put a challenge out there for you. Will you all dare to ask what if with regards to aviation IoT? So thank you guys. I really appreciate you listening today, and we really hope to see you in the new frontier of aviation IoT. Thank you.